That's a current point. So anyone else on transport? How do we minimize environmental costs? Okay, so we're still on controlling environmental costs, isn't it? So we are on the head in transport and travel. How do we minimize, or how do we control costs, and how do we control environmental costs relating to transport and travel? Okay, Umar have mentioned one of them. Okay, who else?
Yes, hope it is.
Ibrahim, can you mute your mic, please? Can you mute your mic, please, Ibrahim?
No, it's not me. It's not me, Mr. Fofana.
Oh, it was not you. Okay, fine. Sorry. Right. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, travel and transport and travel. How do we minimize environmental costs? Okay. In some organizations, what they do is they pick staff. Okay, they pick staff to bring them to work, and then they take them back. Okay, right. This is not bad because, especially for those staff who have got cars, instead of them coming to work with their car, they could be taken by a general transport, which will minimize cost. But at the level of the staff, how do we control the cost the organization is bearing on you to take you to and from work? You could arrange a pickup point. The driver cannot pick each and every staff from their house. Okay, so we need to have a pickup point along the way so that you walk up to that pickup point, and then the driver can pick it. That's one way of doing it. Okay, in the West, I was telling you about in the city of London, for example, there are certain areas, especially West London, Central London, and so on and so forth, where congestion charges are paid for drivers, private drivers who drive around those areas within certain periods of the week. Okay? Why? Because they want to encourage people to use public transport, that's buses and trains, okay, so that greenhouse gases emission can be minimized. Okay, so we could do the same thing here. We could do the same thing here. The only problem we have here is we don't have adequate public transport, and our public transport system are very, very unreliable. Okay, we have buses, that are managed by GTSC and stuff, but those buses mostly go to the provinces. Within the combos here, we don't have we don't have reliable buses that are sufficient to be taking people. Okay, because if those buses are reliable, people could use those to go to work instead of every Tom, Dick, and Harry going with their transport to work. I'm sure even if that is the case, Gambians with their mentality, a lot of people will see themselves, think that, if I have my transport, why don't I jump on my transport rather than going to wait for a bus? And it's not about that, but it's about doing justice to the environment. And of course, by using public transport, congestion on the traffic will minimize. Okay? Now, if you want to come to work, everywhere there's traffic. In the evenings, everywhere there's traffic. So we'll very soon be like Lagos. Lagos is terrible when it comes to traffic. Okay? So, we need to do some car sharing. If I live with Ibrahima, Fatu, and Jojo in the same area, each and every one of us have got our cars, we could decide the 4 of us or the 5 of us can fit into one car. Monday, Tuesday, Ibrahima brings his car and takes us. Wednesday, Lamin brings his car and takes all of us. Thursday, somebody else, like that. Car sharing, because we all live in the same area. So it will be economical for each and every one of you. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you'll do justice, because each and every car that flies on the road emits so much CO2. Umar has said it. especially these vehicles with these I call it budu cars. You know, the way they pollute the environment is terrible. You know, those whitish or dark black smoke that comes out of the car, they're very dangerous. They can cause cancer. You know, they emit a lot of CO2. See, so I mean, we need to be, aware of those things. Okay, so you can, of course, look at this.
Yeah, Mr. Fofana.
In our context, and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like what you are saying, minimizing of cost. I can take one practical example of maybe these security forces, like
Okay.
police, immigration, and fire service, and so forth.
Okay.
Normally, what they do is, every staff every staff will contribute $100 every month from your salaries.
Okay.
So now, they make it as an organizational rule that every staff should contribute $100 as bus service.
Okay.
So that 100, they will buy a buses, maybe 3 or 4 buses from that $100, and the maintenance also will come from that $100.
Okay.
But
good.
now, people are not within the greater Banjul areas. Some are posted at provinces and so forth, but they make it a law that if you are a staff of these forces, you have to contribute this amount. You understand? But one day or the other, you will be transferred from that end to this end, to greater Banjul area. So you can see that bosses will try and pick you from your home to your workplace. And they have another bus that will take you as relief buses that will take morning, afternoon, and night.
Wow.
You understand? But if you look at it, the cost is very minimal to a person, $100 every month.
Yeah.
If I am paying fare to go to work, if I calculate how much should I pay monthly to go to Banjul every day, from maybe Brikama to Banjul every day, if you calculate that, it will be far, more than what you are paying per month, which is $100.
Exactly. That's true.
That's true. Example of cost minimized.
That's true. That's true. I think that's a very good example, to be honest. That's a very good example. Okay. Good. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's move on. So let's look at consumables and raw materials. Like I said, raw materials and consumables, once they waste, they become environmental costs. Okay, so we need to ensure that whatever raw materials we buy are of high quality, so that when they go through the production processes, there won't be much waste. Okay. That's one way. The other part is the raw materials are usually turned into products by factory workers or by production workers. Those production workers needs to be adequately trained, because if they are not adequately trained, they may not operate the machines properly, and as such there could be lots of wastage, even though the raw materials are of high quality. Okay, so it's both sides. The quality of the material and the quality of staff. Very, very important. Okay. So for consumables, things like toner cartridges in our offices, there are some that can be refilled, and then there are some places here that you could take your cartridge to refill it. Okay, those things are really important before we keep throwing it. And cartridges have got some chemical, in them that could be very, very detrimental. So it's highly important to recycle our cartridges, to reuse them as many times as possible. If you buy your cartridge and it's finished, there are some people around that can fill your cartridges and your toner, and of course at a lower cost. Sometimes it depends on the person who does it, but sometimes they may not be friendly with the printer. Okay, but then if you happen to contract someone who can do it properly, then you'll save cost, and of course you'll save the environment. Okay. Right. So like I said, there will be some cost savings. Yeah. Okay. So those are some of the ways we can control our environmental costs. Now we look at how do we account for environmental costs. Okay, how do we account for environmental costs? Okay, so the first method we look at, of course, the second method is very similar to this as well, the input-output analysis, okay? Input-output simply means what goes in terms of material and what goes out in terms of the product. You analyze them. You analyze what goes in terms of the kilogram of materials or the number of meters square that goes into production and so on and so forth, and what product you get out of it. If you, for example, if you inject, let's say, 20 cartons of newsprint to produce your newspapers, you know, how many newspapers, how many cartons do you get in return in terms of the newspaper itself, the product itself? So because the difference between whatever goes as an input and whatever comes out as an output will, of course, be the waste. Okay, so the input-output analysis looks at that. So the techniques records material inflows, what goes in, and balances this with outflows. Okay, what goes in and what comes out, on the basis that what comes in must come out. Okay, if you have given your printers 20 cartons of newsprint, the newspaper they should print should be equal to the 20 cartons of newsprint.
No, where the problem? Tell me my problem. Tell me if I have not able to watch it. Nakala watch.
Okay, so that's what the input-output analysis means. So a typical example is if we, input 100 kg of materials, okay, and our output came out to be 20 kilogram of materials, okay. What's the difference? 20 kilogram, okay. The input was 100, and the output in terms of real product was what? 80 kilogram. And what remains is 20 kilogram. That 20 kilogram balance, you have to analyze it. Okay? This 20 kilogram, how many percent of this 20 kilogram was waste? How many of this 20 kilogram was scrapped? Okay? So for example, the 20 kilogram that will remain as the balance, you could do your analysis and maybe say 10% of this will be sold for scrap. For example, they may be, they may be remaining, but then they could be sold for scrap. Sometimes the waste that you generate could be sold for scrap. For example, if you decorticate groundnut, you will get your groundnut seeds. The groundnut shells that will remain cannot be called waste. Okay, it cannot be called waste. You cannot call it waste because that groundnut, those groundnut shells could be sold to people who make briquette. Fire briquettes, the charcoal-like something that they make for firewood. Okay, so the same thing here. So if we input 100 kg and then our output was 8 kg, 20 kg remain. That 20 kg, is it something that could be reused for something else? Okay, if yes, everything can be reused for something else, then there is no waste. But if part of it could be reused, like here in this case, it could be sold as scrap, just like the peanuts case is, the 10% could be sold as scrap, then that means the remaining 90% of the 20 kg, which is about 18 kg, is waste. Once it's waste, then that means it's not useful. Okay? You cannot turn it into cash. You cannot use it for anything else. You cannot, do anything with it, basically. Okay? So let me click this. Okay, so this is the situation. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so by accounting for it, of course, you look at the environmental cost aspect of it, and in this case, the environmental cost aspect of it will be the 18 kg, which is the 90% of the 20 kg. Okay, which will be considered as waste, and it will be recorded as an environmental cost. Okay, so the second method is the flow cost accounting. Okay, this is of course very similar to the first method. The technique uses not only material flows, but it also looks at the organizational structure. So it looks at the previous method, and of course it mixes with the organizational structure. So it makes material flows transparent by looking at the physical quantities involved, their costs, and their value. It divides the material flows into three categories as material, system, and delivery. Okay? So of course, delivery and disposal. The values and costs of each of these three flows are then calculated. Okay? So the flow cost accounting method, looks further at the material, the initial method, which is the in and out flow method. Okay? Right. So we look at the third method, which is activity-based costing. Okay, we've done activity-based costing, but this time it's activity-based costing, which is related to the environment. Okay, a typical example that is given here is, okay, for example, you want to account for environmental cost, let's say in a gym. Okay, how do you account for it? How do you identify environmental cost? And how do you kind of encourage people to minimize it? Okay, a typical example could be taken in a gym. Okay, activity-based costing could be used. Okay, how could it be used? When we look at the gym, people come to the gym, they do their exercises, they do their runs, and so on and so forth. After the gym, what they do is they will usually, have shower, okay, and then they will go. In the Gambia, I don't think I have seen any gym that has got such facilities. But in the West, almost all the gyms have got those facilities, because the reason is some gyms are organizational based. So some people will come to work, early, they go to the gym for an hour, and then have shower, they come with their clothing, and then they'll dress and then go to the office. That's what some people do. And in other places also, some people, they will go to the gym, maybe in the middle of the day and so on. So maybe from there, they want to continue to attend another function. So almost all the gyms will have this, facility of, having bath, and stuff like that. Okay. So if you're going to have bath, naturally, the gym attendants are going to use towel. Okay, they're going to use towels to dry themselves after having bath. Okay, so those towels, of course, if you use it once, nobody can use it again. It's just like in a hotel. You use it, it's dirty, and you dump it in the bin where they're collected, and they will be taken to the washing machine. Okay, so the cost drivers will be what? The washing of the towels. Okay, we'll have to wash the towels because people have used them. The more towels we use, the more cost we're going to incur on the washing of the towels, isn't it? Because the towels will be dirty and then they'll have to be washed in the washing machine. So when you look at that example, the washing machine, I hope you all know what a washing machine is. A washing machine is a machine that washes clothes. Okay, in the Gambia, we have some people who use it, and it's just so robust. But it's very common in the West. Okay, so if you use the washing machine to wash those towels, what's going to happen is you're going to incur environmental cost. What's the environmental cost? Energy cost. The electricity cost that you're going to use to wash those towels will be an environmental cost. Okay, so The cost driver, we are talking about by using activity-based costing. So what will be the cost driver in this scenario? The environmental cost of washing the towels, what will be the cost driver? We've done activity-based costing, haven't we? Are you with me? Are you with me, class?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so can you tell me the environmental cost associated with washing towels? We all agree it's an environmental cost because it is an energy cost. So what is the cost driver for this environmental cost?
Is it not machine hour?
Machine hour. Okay, machine hour. Okay, well, yeah, the time. Okay.
Or the number of towels.
No, not the number of towels actually, because the way has anyone seen a washing machine, how it operates? Anyone?
For me, no.
I like that, Umar.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mr. Fofana, I do. I have one at my house.
you have one at your house, Mohammed. Huh?
Yeah.
So you are a big man, Mohammed. Huh?
No. We are students. We are yet to be big.
Okay.
Mr. Fofana, what about labor cost per hour?
Huh?
No,
the cost driver cannot be labor cost. We are talking about labor cost might be a direct cost. We are talking about overheads. We are talking about overheads, electricity overheads, the cost of the something. Okay, so we're saying that this electricity overheads that we're going to use as an environmental cost. What is the cost driver? Okay, by saying, Umar, the number of towels, okay, that's closer to it. You can use the number of towels, but that's why I asked this question. If like somebody, okay, Mohammed, can you tell us how the washing machine operates?
Yes, hello, Mr. Fofana.
Yes.
Yeah, like when there is light, you normally take the extension out and then plug the washing machine to it, and then there is a pipe that connects the washing machine to the tap.
Okay.
So when you connect the two and then open the tap, you just open the tap like that and leave it like that. So the water content the washing machine required in the washing of the clothes,
okay,
the machine will just absorb that into, and then when it reaches the maximum, and then it will stop.
Okay. So how many clothes do you put in the washing machine? How many at a time?
The on button to start.
Huh? Okay, actually, the answer I expect is it depends. Okay, so different washing machines have got different quantity of clothes that can go in there, and of course, the clothes also it depends on the size. Okay, it could be clothes for kids. If it's clothes for kids, there could be many. If it's clothes for adults, there may not be that many. Okay, if it is clothes for adults, usually on average, it can take up to say 15 to 20. If it's clothes for kids, it could even take more than 30. But that's not the basis for measuring when it comes to washing machine. Washing machine works on the number, the amount, the measure of kilos, how many kilos of clothes goes in there. So on average, it's 25 kilos it takes at a time. So that's why, Umar, the number of towels may not be the best cost driver. So the cost driver is the number of washes or the number of machine runs. For example, if you're going to wash towels, if they are big towels, maybe it's going to take, let's say, 10. Okay? So when you wash, usually the wash is either 30 minutes or an hour. If it is clothing that's deeply soiled, it can go up to an hour. If you want just a quick wash, it could be for 30 minutes. Okay? So the cost driver. Of course, what is cost driver? We've all agreed the cost driver is what? Learn to forget. What's cost driver?
Oh, the machine runs.
No. What's the definition of a cost driver? Come on, I'm gonna catch you there. Umar, what is definition of cost driver? You have forgotten, huh? Because you memorized it, didn't you?
Cost drivers can be defined as the activities that are used to measure our cost incurred.
Not the activities. Not the activities there.
Is it not the overhead?
Huh?
The overhead. The overhead costs that are used to measure.
No. The cost driver.
It's the unit of activities. Unit of activities.
Unit of activities. No. What is a cost driver? You have forgotten. Is the factor that determines the size of cost. Come on, how many times? I'm older than most of you. I can, remember this. Maybe the reason is because I have not memorized it. It's the factor that determines the size of cost. What is the cost here? The cost here is what? The electricity cost. So what's the cost driver? The factor that determines the size of the electricity cost, whether it's going to be high or not, is the number of times we operate the washing machine. Okay? So this is a typical example. So I'll continue with it. So of course, the washing machine will operate, and then the cost driver, like I said, will be the number of machine runs. That's the number of times the washing machine operates. Okay, and if you want to bring costs down, if you want to control costs, you could tell your clients, that's the people who are your clients who are aware of their carbon footprint. Okay, that if you come to the gym and you happen to use more than one towel, you're going to be charged extra. Okay, so because of that, some people might, try to curtail their use of towels to only one, because you're talking about environmental costs, and nobody wants to be, seen as, someone who will, go against environmental, stuff. Okay, is that clear? So activity-based costing could be used to determine our environmental costs, just like we've seen our electricity costs as a result of the use of washing machine. And this basis could be used to, inform the management of the gym, and this could be communicated to the gym users. They either restrict themselves to one towel, or they will be more than happy to pay for an extra towel in case they want to use more. But if you just allow them to come and then they just use one towel, two towels, three towels like that, your cost is going to go up without any way of trying to reach over. Okay? Okay, so we move to the life cycle costing. Okay, life cycle costing could also be used as a way of accounting for environmental costs. Okay, so you can look at the the environmental aspect of the costs from its cradle to grave. Okay, from inception to its cessation. Okay, so you could use that also as a basis for environmental costing. Okay, so any questions? We're going to move to another topic. Any questions or contributions? This will be the last topic we're going to look at on the EMA.
This world is so nice.
Okay, Mr. Kokana.
Yes.
Yes, regarding this environmental cost, by lowering it, I think there's going to be kind of trade-off,
Okay.
because most of the carbonous industries, the products that they